Hi all and welcome back to another video of which we are going to be previewing Saturday's big races at Newmarket, the Group 1 Dewhurst Stakes over 7 furlongs and obviously the Cesarewitch, one of the biggest flat handicaps of the year over 2 mile 2 furlongs. We come back after the Arc, which was yesterday. My immediate reaction was obviously see if Class was a bit unlucky. But Enable was there in the van, got the first run, and it was fantastic to see Enable win again. From a personal point of view, in terms of our tips, I said Volgeist and Kew Gardens each way. Volgeist did run into a place into fourth without really threatening, I won't lie, but at least we got a bit of money back there. That I tipped him up at 8-1. And Kew Gardens, he just needs a bit further than a mile 4, unfortunately. Everything went right. Like, they put pace into the race. The O'Brien horses, you couldn't say it wasn't a test of stamina, but he's just not quite quick enough over a mile 4 in these big Group 1s. Well, this is one of the greatest Group 1s. It's not just your bog standard Group 1. And you had two very good fillies who also have the fillies allowance. Sea of Class also had the 3-year-old filly allowance. It's very difficult for Kew Gardens to compete in that sort of scenario. But anyway, we move on. We at least got a bit of an each way return. And we move on to the Dewhurst, which sees another Gosden de Tory hot pot here in Too Darn Hot. And in last week's video, I was wondering what you guys thought in terms of the 2-year-old form, who you thought was the most impressive. And it's hard for me to not think that Too Darn Hot has been the most visually impressive so far. But it's another one of these cases, like Enable last week, where it's evens, and he hasn't run in a Group 1 yet. And I just think Evans is short. I know he's got all the potential in the world, but I just don't really think Evans is a great price considering just what he's achieved so far. This son of Dubois has been exemplary in his 3 starts, including 2 Group 2s, I think. The Cesarewitch at Sandown and the Champagne at Doncaster. But has he been beating much? I'm not so sure. And therefore, I'm going to oppose it Evans. It could be another one of these Enable scenarios where you just got to think about it from an odds perspective, and I don't think he's value at Evans. He could well win, but I don't think he's value, and we're looking for value bets. That moves us on to second favourite Sangarius at 5-2. This son of Kingman for Sir Michael Stout. Very good looking horse. Again, 2 from 2. Won last time out in a listed race. So this horse is even less proven against good animals. And therefore, I just cannot see why he's 5-2. You look at his maiden form. I know he was green that day, and therefore for him to win it all would have been a good performance. But he beat an Andrew Balding horse called Bangkok, who hasn't exactly been franking the form in any sort of variety. And then he goes on to win a listed race by 2 lengths at Doncaster. Everyone's going to go a bit mad. I wouldn't be having it at 5-2, considering some of the other horses at other prices. I'm not sure what O'Brien horses are going to run, but it does look like 10 Sovereigns is going to run at 9-2. He's 3 from 3, including the Group 1 Middle Park Stakes last time out. He looks speedily bred. He seems to go well over 6. This will be his first time over 7. That is a concern. And my other concern would be he didn't look that impressive in the Middle Park. And I know that's probably not a good way to go about things, but he kind of clambered over the line, and he was 8-13 that day. They obviously thought he'd win a bit more impressively than he did, and therefore 9-2 is not for me. Which moves us on. It's a bit like the Arc. I'm picking 2 horses. They're not at big prices. They're at 8-1 and 9-1 respectively, but both fair each way chances, assuming that you're going to get at least the 8 runners, which means 3 places. The first of which is Advertise for Martin Mead, who I presume is going to run in this. This is obviously subject to declarations, but this son of Showcasing is 3 from 4. His only defeat was a length second to Calix in the Coventry. There's no disgrace in that. And last time won the Group 1 Phoenix Stakes at the Curragh. And this is it with 10 Sovereigns and Advertise. They've won Group 1s. The other horses haven't even run in them. So therefore, I don't understand why Advertise is 8-1. I don't know what he's done wrong. He's a bit like 10 Sovereigns. He's going up to 7 furlongs for the first time. But the way Martin Meade speaks about him is just almost like this horse is poetry to him. You know, he's so well regarded within the yard. And 8-1 seems a big price for me, and I think that's a good each way play. 8-1 is on William Hill, but obviously looking at the odds checker website. The other one is actually O'Brien. It will likely be O'Brien's second string, which probably means Donnacha O'Brien's on him, which would be no bad thing. But I don't know whether he's going to run or not. But if Anthony Van Dyck turns up, I think 9-1's not a bad each way go. He's 9-1 at Bet365. The son of Galileo has been good. He's 3 from 5 now, I think, including winning the Group 2 Futurity at the Curragh 2 starts ago. Then was second last time out by a length to Corso in the National Stakes. That looks a very hot National Stakes, to be honest. And Corso, if he was running in this, would be shorter than 9-1. So she'd be probably 2-1, maybe even less than that. So I think 9-1 for Anthony Van Dyck. I don't think he did much wrong that day. Perhaps he's not completely top class, but it doesn't mean he wouldn't be able to run into a place. And he's very streetwise at this stage, or he should be, as it will be his 6th run if he does go. So for me, it's Advertised at 8-1 and Anthony Van Dyck at 9-1 as 2 each way plays in the Dewhurst. In the Cesarewitch, it just seems to be a Mullins and O'Brien takeover, really. And the tricky thing I'm having with this is that the Irish Cesarewitch is on Sunday at Naas. And I don't know which Mullins horses are going to run in the English Cesarewitch and which are going to run in the Irish one. It's like the Cheltenham Festival Mullins bingo all over again. This is obviously subject to, not change, but if they're not running, obviously don't back them. But I think if the horses in the betting all run, Limini at 12-1 with Paddy Power does look good value to me. Limini, who won last time out at Leopardstown on Champions Weekend, having placed at Galway twice, second in the Amateur Riders, and then third later on in the week in another handicap. All those races were over around a mile 4, mile 5. So she is stepping up to obviously 2 mile 2 for the first time, I think, on the flat. But she was a mare's hurdle. Third, over 2.5 at the Cheltenham Festival. She shouldn't have any issues with being 2 mile 2. And I think she's just got a bit of class. And I still think she's actually quite well handicapped on the flat. Also, even though quite high in the weight, if he takes his chance, Whiskey Sour at 20-1 I think is not bad price. 20-1 William Hill. 6th in the Ebor last time out, when seemingly a mile 6 was just too short. William Buick was on board that time, made smooth headway before, just not being able to get there, not being able to deal with the pace of the horses out in front, and couldn't really mow them down. I think the step up to 2 mile 2 is sure to suit, and if he takes his chance, 20-1 could be a very nice each way play, considering there will be at least 4 or 5 places on the day with most bookmakers, you'd assume. Just running through very quickly the other market leaders. Stratham obviously has been the horse that's been well backed into 6-1. Southern France for Aidan O'Brien, I think was 3rd in the ledger, maybe 4th, is 10-1. And seems attractively handicapped. He might be one if the other 2 weren't to run. Southern France would probably be my 3rd go. But at the moment it's Limini and Whiskey Sour. There just doesn't seem to be any English horses really. Like Just in Time at 14-1 is the shortest English price horse. I didn't really like Just in Time, to be honest. Here and Now at 16-1, perhaps as a squeaking Cleante at 16-1 also for Andrew Balding. But they wouldn't be for me. They're not tickling my fancy as being well handicapped horses. We'll have to see come the day. Usually in the Cesarewitch, some horse on the day will get very well backed. So perhaps for people like that, you might want to wait to the day, wait to see the ground and perhaps who's running and all that. But for me, just taking a plunge here on the Monday for the Saturday race, Limini at 12-1 and Whiskey Sour at 20-1. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below. I'm hopefully going to be expanding into weekly versions of this where I'm previewing the big races come Saturday, and obviously when the big Irish races start coming, doing Saturday and Sunday previews. As always, I appreciate any sort of feedback you might have. Who you think is going to win the Dewhurst? Do you think Too Darn Hot is just too darn good? I don't know. Who do you think will win the Cesarewitch? Is there anyone that you feel is well handicapped? If you do think so, please do comment below and I'll try to get back to you. Anyway, for now, I hope you're having a good time. Until next time, go well.